going on, folks? Welcome to In Between Media's Fantasy NASCAR show, The Back Road. We're back with you, and we're getting ready for the playoffs, boys. It's going to be fun. Usual crew here with you, Elliot Hicks, Seth Woolcock, and Rod Villagomez. Guys, this is going to be a lot of fun. We're heading into the playoffs. How's it going tonight, Seth?
Oh, man, I am jacked up. I mean, what a way to enter the playoffs. Crazy race happening in Daytona, controversial things happening with NASCAR. I got to spend the race actually in Barry's Car Barn down there in Intercourse, Pennsylvania. So that was a really cool opportunity down there with Derek and all the guys from the NASCAR gambling preview show. So can't thank them enough for that opportunity. Hosted here on our channel. That was super fun, kind of doing a live event for the first time like that on the channel. But I mean, man, I cannot wait. So many storylines to cover. And I think this week is a very, very profitable one, looking at some of these bets already. Rod, how are you feeling, my friend?
Same way you are, man. I am pumped for the playoffs. Cannot believe I said on my podcast earlier this week, I said that whoever scheduled this as far as Daytona being the one to decide the final playoff spot, kudos to you. But at the same time, I hate you because that was so much sweat the entire time, not just from the race on the track, but from the 16 hours that it took between rain delays and like going to sleep at night and having to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning to catch that race. Like, yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on. And I mean, for one, I'm glad it's over, but I'm a little sad that it's over at the same time.
Well, don't be too sad, Rod. We're going to take a look back at it on In the Rear View. Before we get to the Daytona chaos, we do have to touch on Watkins Glen real quick. That was right before the Daytona race, obviously. Won once again by Kyle Larson, as he did the day before in the Xfinity race and the year before in the Cup race. Larson getting the win there, kind of moving Chase Elliott out of the way again. That fan base not too happy about it. Made another artificial storyline for this playoffs is all it really did to me. I don't think there's any beef there. But how did you guys do betting-wise, and how did everything go with you at the Glen?
I love road courses, man. The road courses to me have become the most profitable in NASCAR right now. Absolutely crushed it. Got that Chevy 1-2 finish plus 180. That was very nice. Chris Bell top 10, Dinger over Briscoe. Hit the Chris Buescher top 10, but I also threw a top 5 on him thinking I could maybe squeeze that out. That was the only bet I didn't hit. So I was 4 for 5 on the week. But man, I loved Watkins Glen. I mean, Michael McDowell up there racing hard. Dinger coming from the back and making his way up. And then, sneaky Kyle Larson, man. I kind of like that move, honestly. I know, Chase Elliott fans are out there probably screaming their heads off. But I like the move. I think it was a good and, harmless in a way that Chase was still able to get a top 5 finish out of it.
Yeah, so we did actually pretty good as well. I got 5 out of 9 correct on the weekend between Xfinity and the Cup. Had Barry top 10 in the Xfinity race. That hit. Kyle Larson to win that Xfinity race. That hit. And then Briscoe, the same one, AJ over Briscoe. Logano over Byron hit. AJ to win Group C at the time at plus money to hit.
There you go.
Cindric over Cascade. Yep. Buescher top 10. It was a very profitable weekend for us this weekend or a couple weekends ago.
Rod, what was that Kyle Larson outright in Xfinity?
And it was plus 300 in Xfinity to
Okay.
win.
Wow. Yeah, man. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like the road courses have become, they're not the same plug and play Chase Elliott outright as they used to be, but you still have the same bunch of 5 to 10 drivers who are very dominant and very friendly for whether it's top 10s, top 5, whatever you're going for, and your DFS lineups as well. So I love Watkins Glen. It's one of our closest tracks here to us in Pennsylvania, so it's a fan favorite. I loved the race. Elliot, did you enjoy the race yourself?
Yeah, a lot of good racing at Watkins Glen as always. And again, a little bit of that, McDowell getting up there. I thought early in the race that was his race to lose. He was really going to take it, but didn't surprise me to see the Hendrick boys back up front.
I knew it was a matter of time.
Yeah.
I almost put the live bet on Michael McDowell at one point. I was pretty ready to go. But luckily, I've not been great with live betting. I actually put a live bet on Hawaii over the weekend to win that game against Vandy. Next play, there is a strip fumble recovery for the touchdown for Vandy. So live bets haven't been super profitable for me this year. But I will say, our guys on our live stream, they actually jumped on Austin Dillon live, really in the middle of that Daytona race. So that was, some pretty good odds there. But Elliot, I'm sure you want to talk all about that Daytona race. What a time that was.
Yeah, Daytona, just absolute craziness. I remember I did the thing, throw the notebook out the window, and that's basically exactly what it was. We had everything in this race, the rain delays, the whole field crashing because of a pop-up shower, everything like that. Before we talk about your guys' bets, we got to shout out a couple of really impressive bet slips. A lot of the bets not necessarily on outright wins, but just betting all the guys, your BJ McLeods and Landon Castles and Cody Wares and David Reagans, putting all those guys together just to get top tens. I don't have the exact numbers with me. I should have brought up these bet slips. There was one that I think was a $1 bet that came out at like 69 grand. And then one person, I think it was like a $13 insurance bet, and they got $1 million for all those guys hitting. So it was the absolute dream scenario for those guys who bet all the starting parks, then up top 10. They were about the only guys left after that pop-up rain shower, with 20 to go. I'm honestly shocked they kept the race going. But I would say a lot of those guys that bet Austin Dillon, you were good either way. He ended up winning the race on his own merit after it went green.
Well, and that was the crazy thing about this race is like you kind of had to sweat it out through the delays too, how long was that? That was a three plus hour delay there.
There was the whole situation with Harvick where he was scored second, but the car could not run anymore. So it was like either he's going or he's out of the race. That was
insane. And Rod, you and Cody, it seems like you guys had a super profitable week at Daytona too. I know Cody, he called that out right on your guys' podcast as well.
Yeah, Cody called the Austin Dillon 30-1 win. Of course, he calls everybody out to win, so I'm just gonna throw him under the bus there. He gives out 15 winners a week. But look, he had other bets too. He had Elliott over Larson, Cindric over Busch, and then he cleaned house in the Xfinity race where Dinger had a top 5, Castle over John Hunter Nemechek, Brandon Jones over Sam Mayer. Like it just, all sorts of greatness. I had Josh Berry over Hemrick in the Xfinity race. That was my one thing. I had Logano to win outright, and the guy led so many laps and just could not, just couldn't get it done, especially getting caught up in that one hit. And I was like, that sucks.
Daytona was awesome to watch. It wasn't super profitable for me on the books, though. I took a couple outrights on Ross. I'm a sucker for that. If you guys have been watching the show all season, I'm a sucker for Ross outrights because I've hit him before. Bubba, I got talked in. Our guy Rory Picks over there. He talked me into talking Bubba all weekend. So I eventually threw an outright on him. That didn't hit either. And I was hot on Toyota heading into this one too, guys, and that did not hit. So really kind of a bad week there on the books for me. I did get the Cindric over Rowdy that Rod did as well. And then Eric Jones over Almirola. That was a close one kind of down towards the end, but was able to hit that. But man, that was a fun one. I will say, shout out to, we actually have Derek Yoder here in the chat. So, we had a sponsor of the event, and we did a little bit of a draft over on the weekend. And Cindric was one of my guys. Derek had Austin Dillon. And at this point, we had kind of separated for the tail end of the race. Cindric's, of course, winning this one. And I knew it, that Cindric wasn't going to win it. I had $500 I could have taken if I got that W. Unfortunately, I did not. And that's just how it goes. We kind of know this at this point, especially with Austin Dillon behind you with 3 laps to go. Someone's getting moved out of the way. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but hey, he did what he needed to do, and he got into the playoffs. And so if we're done talking about Daytona here, we bring back the tire tiers. We ranked all the playoff drivers, and let's see how they set up heading into the postseason. So it's a good time to do a little bit of a reset of our rankings here, just taking out all the non-playoff guys and focusing on the 16 drivers that are going to get most of our attention over the rest of the season in the playoffs here.
Yeah, I'm working on pulling those up right now. Elliot, do you want to talk a little bit about like the 16 drivers looking back as I do that? Like, are you surprised with these 16? Are you comfortable and okay with these 16? Obviously, Truex gets left out with the rain delay coming back as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only surprise for me is Truex not making it. And I mean, this is really exactly what NASCAR wants. There were 16 different winners. Kurt Busch, unfortunately, not in the playoffs because of his health issues. we got the 16 winners, and that just the NASCAR wants all the drama. They want winning to be the most important thing. Ryan Blaney had to have everything go right, including after that 3-hour rain delay, to even make it in at all. And knocking out Truex, I mean, I don't think Truex has had a bad season at all. You just got to win races, and they could not do it this year.
Yeah, Cody always likes to say the retired racers do not win races anymore. So, whatever. I still think he's got a shot to win something at the end of this stretch. There's a lot of tracks that he's still good on. So,
I think he absolutely will be the kind of dude to play spoiler and go win 4 playoff races, even though he's not even in it. Build some momentum into next year.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, you got to feel bad for Truex too, because like if that rain delay would have held, he's probably in the playoffs there. And you kind of saw Ryan Blaney
by a good amount of points. Yeah.
I mean that's how it happens here. But I mean, still, we got 16 awesome drivers here in the playoffs heading into it. Elliot, what do you think about this tier 1? If you want to run through them here quick.
Yeah, tier 1, we had our unanimous number 1 between the 3 of us, which was Chase Elliott, then Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, and Denny Hamlin. To be honest, I would not be surprised if this is the championship 4. I mean, Denny Hamlin, points-wise, kind of a crappy year, but he got the wins when he needed it, a multi-win season. I forget if he's got 2 or 3 wins. Logano, maybe not on fire, but he's just always the consistent guy who's going to get you a pretty good finish. Larson hasn't won 10 races this year, but he's still around. And Chase Elliott is perhaps more consistent than he's ever been. I think these are the best 4. Again, the playoffs are close enough that other than Chase getting those bonus points for the regular season championship, you could have any of these guys have a bad couple of weeks and fall out. But I think these are easily the class of the field heading in.
Rod, what was your impression of this top 4? Because, I mean, Denny Hamlin's a guy we've kind of been burying him all season long. I think this is the first time he's in our tier 1 since maybe our initial rankings all the way back in February.
I don't even think then he was tier 1. I think we had him maybe as low tier 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's it too. Right now, he's entering the conversation because he actually has looked well over the last and run well over the last few weeks. It's been marred by a few incidences here and there, and a lot of times we like to just trounce on Hamlin for not being what he used to be. But the fact of the matter is, he's won 2 races. He's in the playoffs. He's among the better drivers in this playoff race right now, and you obviously can make an argument that he's better than all of them except for the 3 that are ahead of him. In fact, I have him 3rd ahead of Larson, in fact, which is probably a little sacrilege. But again, I still think he's been doing better than even we like to give him credit for. And he watched the rest of that race from the pit box with Michael Jordan. So you got to think he doesn't want to do that again.
Yeah, and part of this is taking into account what we've seen recently out of Denny Hamlin. 2 out of his last 3 races heading into Daytona were top 5 finishes. And he is excellent at Darlington. He is excellent at Kansas. So that's why I put him back in this tier 1, is I think he vaults back into that discussion. And I'm excited to see what we can see out of him. Obviously, Larson, obviously Chase, they've had great success over lately here. Not as dominant as Hendrick was at the beginning of the year, but they're the 2 who have held on that team, while Alex Bowman and William Byron have really kind of shit the bed.
Yeah. Look. No. Oh no, I was going to say that Larson won almost half of his races in the playoffs last year. Right. So who's to say that he can't go on another run like that again? Granted, he was super dominant before, but all it takes is for Larson to catch a spark, and maybe Watkins Glen caught that spark. Daytona we can throw out because it's Daytona, but once you get back to normal, as it were, Larson could just be back right in it.
Right, and I think with Hendrick, being a Hendrick fan as long as I have since Dale Jr. went over there in 08, they can kind of mess around with their cars more than they needed to. All 4 of those guys got wins early. I think within the first 8 or 9 races, all of them had already won. So I feel like maybe they got to play around a little bit. We'll see. If they come out of the gate and the same guys struggle, then it's a problem. I've got faith in all 4 of those Hendrick cars coming out and looking faster than we expect. But again, I have a little bit of bias, so take that with a grain of salt if you want to. Moving into tier 2, I think these guys are all boom or bust to me. These guys could all win the title. These guys could all be out in the round of 16. Tyler Reddick, Kevin Harvick, Ross Chastain, and Ryan Blaney. Blaney worries me only because they haven't won a race. They've been good. They've been consistent, but they haven't made it to victory lane. Ross Chastain has just made too many enemies. Eventually, whether it's this round, next round, following round, someone's going to run into him at the right time, punt him, and he's out. Kevin Harvick didn't run well 7/8 of the regular season, comes out, gets 2 wins, get in the playoffs. He could hit a run, go on a Tony Stewart 2011 run. I'm not so sure. Tyler Reddick, he's got the upside. He's got the downside. Both RCR cars in the playoffs. Who knows if that takes something away from that 8 team trying to get that 3 team to advance. Going to be real interesting to see. What do you guys think about tier number 2?
This is definitely the upside tier to me. I mean, these are the guys, like you said, Elliot, it is a little boomer bust here. The floor is low on all of them, especially Tyler Reddick, especially. But, I mean, what can you say about Ross Chastain? He's top 3 in laps led still. Obviously, he's been fast at every track, but at the same time, he has made enemies. I like him to advance into the top 8 for sure. But after that, it's going to get a little dicey, especially if Hamlin's still hanging around. You never know how that's going to go. But yeah, I think we kind of nailed this one. I think maybe we're a little high on Blaney despite not having a win. But I mean, I think these are a couple tracks coming up that Harvick is very favorable, and Tyler Reddick is sneaky good here at Darlington and Kansas coming up too. So I like this bunch a lot, and there's definitely be a lot of bets and a lot of DFS lineups where they're going to be involved for me.
Still have a soft spot for Harvick. Can't let it go. I'm sorry. He's one of those original drivers that, not to mention he's my brother's favorite driver. So he's the only one left out of Jimmy and him. So I gotta, go for Harvick at least one more time. But here's the thing with Ross Chastain, we throw up Ross Chastain for victory. He's lost that fire. He may not have lost the driving edge and the way that he's driven, but just the heart. To me, when I see him race, when I see him in interviews, I don't see that same Ross Chastain that I saw at the beginning of the year. You know what I'm saying? Like, he does look like somebody who's made a lot of enemies and knows it. So anytime I see him now, anytime I see him talk, it's not that same like excitement level that he did when he was winning those races early in the season. And that just may be me watching through I know what you did last summer goggles, but I'm just saying Ross Chastain is not the same driver to me the rest of the season.
I almost wonder if that's almost not a team orders thing, but you can have a couple enemies. He didn't want to have all other 15 drivers gunning for him. And I think he had his 2 wins. He was 100% safe to get in, hold back a little bit, then really catch on fire. And here's the thing with Ross is even though people are going to be looking to punt him out of the playoffs if they can, if he wins a race before they can get to him, I mean, he's free sailing. You win the first race in the round, it doesn't matter what happens in the other 2. They can knock you out all they want. You're still in.
And he has been fast at every single track. The only time he really has a bad finish is when he gets wrecked or has some type of engine failure. So I really like Ross moving forward. Obviously, that's no surprise here at the back road. But, yeah, I mean, I love this second tier. They're going to be involved in a lot of bets here moving forward.
All right, so tier number 3, this is my shrug tier. These guys could all go on a run and compete. These guys could all falter and fall out in the first round. We got Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, Daniel Suarez, Austin Cindric. We've talked about Cindric a bit. I mean, all 3 of the Penske cars, they both have the speed and the talent to go out there and do well and advance far into the playoffs, but they haven't been quite as dominant this year. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but we haven't quite seen a dominant team Penske. In terms of Suarez, he got the win at Sonoma. I think that maybe, I don't want to say it comes too soon for him because Trackhouse is good and Chastain's in the same point, but I just don't know if he's got what it takes to make it even into the round of 8. Christopher Bell, same sort of thing. Gibbs is good. They'll have a little more focus on him because the 19's out, but I'm not quite sure. And Kyle Busch, it all depends what happens with the contract negotiations. If he finds out 2 weeks into the playoffs that Ty Gibbs is in that 18 car, I mean, not that he won't give a shit. Obviously, he wants to win a title. But if he's got his eyes looking forward and looking to move on to another organization, it may affect a little bit of his focus.
Did you guys check out that interview with Kyle Busch during that rain delay, though? That was the first time in a long time I've seen that guy smile. And, like, if there was anyone who was ever going to come out and bash NASCAR, I really thought it was going to be Rowdy. And he absolutely did not. He didn't. And so I think
as a free agent, he's got to be able to find a ride without being controversial.
That is true, but I think maybe he's already kind of found a ride. We don't know about it yet. So I agree with that. Rod, what's your kind of take on Kyle Busch in this entire tier 3 here?
Well, maybe Kyle Busch was talking to Tom Brady. That's why Tom Brady was missing for those 11 days. Maybe they were talking about how to nail down one final contract. Now, listen, for Kyle Busch, this is one of those where he's going to just go out and do what he's got to do. Now, I mean, it doesn't matter. I think it matters to him. Yes. And we said that he was driving distracted. Right. We could tell for the last few weeks that he's just been driving distracted. So Now this is the playoffs. There's no time to drive distracted now. So we'll probably see a more focused Kyle Busch. Just like Elliot said, he's got to audition. Maybe he does have a contract locked up. Maybe that's why he's at ease. But I think there's a couple of teams that are talking to him now that we've seen. Collick and Childress are the two big front runners. And you can only imagine that going into the next round of the playoffs and even deep make a good playoff run is going to be a good audition for either one of those. And if that Childress ride's open up for him, watch out.
I feel like the one person we may be discounting a little bit, and I say we, meaning you two, because I think I was a little higher on him coming in here, but that's Austin Cindric, guys. Top 20 in all these tracks that we're going to in the next 3 weeks. So, not a lot of track time on him, obviously being a rookie, but
top 20 doesn't get you into the next round of the playoffs, though.
Certainly. But he's looked good lately. 3 straight top 13s coming into this week. So he's showing consistency here. And I think we might see a little more inspired Cindric than we've seen lately. That's just my take on it. But I think Austin Cindric, I had him a little bit higher than consensus here. But I'm glad he at least made it in tier 3. I know I'm all over him this week.
Yeah, he's definitely super intriguing. Like I said, he's got the Penske car. He's got the Penske talent. But even, top 20 is not going to get you in the next round. Top 13 may not even get you in the next round if one of the guys below him, and there aren't many, are able to get a win early.
Rod, how do you feel about Suarez heading into these next 3 races? Bristol's coming up here soon, and that is one of Suarez's kind of known for tracks. He's top 9 among active drivers in finishing there. Are you interested in Suarez at all? Obviously, like Elliot said, he's kind of stepping up into kind of a new tier here.
Well, I mean, look, it's fun to cheer for him. It was fun to cheer. It was fun to watch him win in Sonoma. Like that was a great story. But really, his body of work since and before that and after that have not necessarily given you the championship feels. It's could he do it? Yeah. But is it something that you would expect out of the 99 after what you've seen all season long? No. I mean, obviously the tier 1 drivers have made far more of a case to be a championship driver in the championship 4 than has Suarez. But you're right. I mean, we've seen anything happen this season, and we've seen 16 different winners. So in this round of 16, we could see any single one of these guys cruise to the front and win. I just don't know how good I feel about that being the 99, given that we saw it pop up once. We've seen some consistent driving from him, but we haven't seen that spark that we've seen out of the 9, that we've seen out of even the 4 winning those 2 races in a row, Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's a good story, but I don't know that it's going to end the way the 99 team wants it to.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I'm going to be completely honest. I like Suarez. I think he's going to continue to be successful. In terms of looking at these 16 drivers, he's the most likely to be eliminated in the first
round. Elliot,
I'm putting myself out on a limb. Sometimes I do that here on this show. That's what I'm saying. And when he wins, Darlington, I'll eat all that crow,
Yeah.
I think he's most likely. On to tier 4 now. These guys, it's hard to make the argument that they can get to the championship 4, win the title. Again, if you're in the playoffs, anything is possible. You never know when somebody can go on a tear. It's not easy to make the argument for these guys. William Byron, Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe, and Austin Dillon. With these guys, Austin Dillon squeaking in at the last second. You remember he squeaked in. Nobody thought he could do anything. I believe it was 2020. Goes out there second at Darlington, blazes through that first round. Chase Briscoe, again, Stuart Haas is just strange because Harvick has been good enough to win. They still haven't had quite the same runs. Briscoe's run up front, he's made some mistakes. I don't quite know about him. And these 2 Hendrick guys, very hot early in the year, kind of slowed down a little bit. William Byron, I think 5-6 weeks in, had the most laps led, most consistent, average finish, stuff like that, has really fallen off a cliff. I'll get more on a Hendrick rant and put on my Ally Purple tinted glasses here after we get your guys' thoughts on these 4 drivers.
Rod, take it away, my friend. I know you have strong opinions on these guys.
The 24 and the 48. I mean, I hate to see the 48 just diminished so much in the fact that, he was him and the 24. They were 2 of the hottest drivers. William Byron was the points leader for a little bit, right? I mean, he was up there. Everyone was talking about William Byron for the championship. Find a future bet on William Byron. That sort of fizzled out, right? 48, been around, got that win. Great. Now what? And then that was it. And then the 14 and the 3, are we even considering them for any? I mean, look, the 3 could dazzle. You're right. He made some noise. went pretty far. I mean, that TV show has pretty much given him a reason to continue to succeed. But you know, with Chase Briscoe, like he's probably like, why am I even here? You know, so yeah.
And that was a pretty good win at Phoenix, and he's had his bright moments. You know, he deserves to be here just as much as the other guys.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I want nothing to do with these Hendrick drivers. Like I would take Austin Dillon, Chase Briscoe. Like if we were doing like a redraft league right now for the rest of the season, I think I'd take those guys over them. I mean, Chase Briscoe's at least looked fast at times. He's ran up at the front at times. William Byron's been nowhere close to the front lately. Somehow he's still, you know, very high in laps led. Obviously that, you know, has a lot to do with Bristol earlier this season, some of those smaller tracks. But I mean, what a drop off. I'm going to talk a little more about what a drop off we've seen from William Byron, but later in the show when we talk about our bets for this week. But man, disappointing to see from him. Alex Bowman, it's been bad, but in a way he also hasn't really caught a break. He's had some pretty bad luck as well. So I will say that William Byron's just been straight trash. I'm not afraid to say that. I've never been a fan of the Liberty guy. You know, we know that. And as far as Austin Dillon, great story. And Elliot, you pointed out very nicely that he went on that run in 2020. Maybe we see something like that again. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure we do with Reddick also being here, you know, splitting the kind of the RCR funding the rest of the way. But I think you guys are bagging on Chase Briscoe a little bit. I think he actually is the top of this tier, in my opinion.
All right, so let's put on the purple glasses and the tinfoil hat a little bit. First, the point on RCR. Tyler Reddick's a lame duck. He's out the door. Austin Dillon has that seat as long as he wants to drive.
That's true.
Does RCR put more into the 3 than the 8? That could be super interesting. And with Hendrick, they run 4 cars, and there's almost never been a time since Hendrick has been to 4 cars with these drivers. You know, they've always had good drivers in there. Now they have young drivers. There's never been a time really when all 4 are firing on all cylinders all the time. All 4 of them got their wins early. This is a brand new car. It is more profitable for Hendrick and for the sport to see the 9 and the 5 in victory lane than it is the 24 and the 48. That's just a fact. So I think obviously Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson are better and more talented drivers than William Byron and Alex Bowman. As a result, they're more popular. They both have the championships. I think it's been the 24 and the 48 that have gotten some of the more experimental things, and that's hurt them. Again, that's not to discredit the 9 and the 5 for being better drivers, because they are. But I'm not going to write off this 24 or 48 until I see them run like crap at Darlington and not really do well in the following race. Then it's like, all right, they've really, you know, fallen off this season, and that's it. But I think Byron can just as easily pick it up. And we've seen this with Alex Bowman. We've seen this exact scenario play out. 2020, got a win early, California in 20, Vegas in 22. And as a Bowman fan, we'll put that on. Thankful he got that Vegas win, because there's basically never been another race this season where he's been close, and there was nowhere close in the playoff points. Would not have made it in without that last late race caution. So thanks Eric Jones and Bubba Wallace for crashing with 3 to go at Vegas.
How about it? That's funny you mentioned that, Elliot. I kind of forgot that is how he ended up with that he kind of took that one out of there.
Right. You think about that 40, it's not in the playoffs at all, which would have been, again, maybe they run the car differently and end up getting a win somewhere else. But so the 48 is about the streakiest damn driver in the garage. Either they're running great or they're running 20th every week. And it's been a lot of bad luck for the 48 this year. But in 2020, he gained the 2nd most points in the playoffs. And just because he was down so low because of only 1 win, couldn't make it into that round of 4 without getting the win. But I think Chase was the only driver to score more points in those 10 races in the playoffs than Bowman's 88 that year. They switched to a different pit crew now. They have LaJoy's pit crew. This is Greg Ives' swan song on the box. I'm totally fine with everyone that throws the 48 out, and maybe after Darlington, maybe on the next show, I'll say the 48 was terrible this year. They're going to fall out of the playoffs. That's okay. I'm not putting it past the 24 and or the 48 to go on a run, at least to make it out of this round. When you get past that, you start to drop off the dead wood, then it gets a little more difficult. But I'm going to continue to ride the Hendrick bandwagon, at least for one more show.
Can we just stop for a moment and pause to just consider the fact that we're talking about the 24 and the 40? Remember Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson days? How on God's green earth has this earth flipped? And just now we're talking about the 24 and the 48 being the weakest cars in the Hendrick stable.
Yeah, I really wish that were the case from 2008 to about 2017, you know. Now, not that's the case now, but
I just don't think they're super. I mean, if we're just speaking the truth, I don't think they're super marketable drivers, honestly. Like,
well,
I don't.
That's my point. It's more it's the 9 and the 5 more talented drivers, more wins because of that, and because they're probably getting better stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to go on a William Byron rant here, guys, but I mean, the dude's not marketable. Not at all. I mean, he's gained like 50 pounds in the last and I get it. Trust me, I put on some adult weight too. But I mean, I'm not a professional
But,
athlete here.
I don't
Byron
think weight
needs
has
to
anything to do with the conversation.
Byron
More the
needs to get in the
personality
gym.
or something. You know?
He needs to get in the gym. Like, can we just be like, no one said it. I haven't heard anyone say it this year, but Byron needs to get in the freaking gym is my thing about him. Maybe the weights helped him a little bit, but I don't know, man. I think he's starting to hit those dog days of summer, and he just having the stamina he maybe had earlier in the year. That's just my opinion. I don't know. If I'm a professional athlete, I'm not looking like that. That's all I'm saying. Sorry, not sorry.
Here, I thought I would have the hottest take of the podcast. Shittier stuff to their worst drivers. Wow. Well, I mean, tier 4, we almost had the most discussion just because we had to really pick and claw at things to give these guys an argument to advancing. Because, I mean, if these are the 4 that fall out, nobody's surprised at all.
Yeah. Yep.
Very true.
I love it, man. I love it. No one else wants to pile on William Byron. Did I do that enough?
No, I can't. I have too much 48 paraphernalia to dog on the 48 car.
Fair
well,
enough.
you can talk about the 24. That's what he was talking about with Byron.
Either one.
Oh, yeah, 24. Yeah, either one.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, Elliot, should we jump into our bets for this week then?
Yeah. Do we want to make predictions on the next show or this show of who are the 4 that are going to be out? We can wait till next show. We're going to have
let's do it. Let's do it right now.
All right. I'll start it off. I'll go with we'll pick. I'll kind of use the cop out here. One of the 24 or 48 will advance. Another won't. So one of them, and then the 99, 14, and 3 are all out.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going to go with the 14, the 3, the 99, and I see bad luck for Christopher Bell happening. So maybe the 20 car.
Part of the reason Dylan had that run in 2020 was because Ryan Blaney had terrible luck in the first round, fell out after being a championship favorite.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the 24, the 48, the 3, and the 20 as well. I like Chris Bell. I like what he's been putting out there, but I am a little worried he could catch some bad luck here moving forward. And, I've talked enough about my hate on William Byron and Alex Bowman. So there you have it. I believe in Suarez, baby. I believe in Suarez, believe in Cindric. I think they might be the 2 sneaky ones with upside here early.
All right, so we all can eat our crow, and Bell or Austin Dillon wins this Sunday at Darlington, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's look ahead to the lady in black with our parking garage props. Let me say this. I like all of our drops. That tune gets stuck in my head about once a week. I'll just be sitting doing something. I don't know if anyone else feels that way. There's your random thought of the show. All right, so we got the 5 favorites for Darlington here on the board here. Kyle Larson, the favorite. That doesn't surprise me. Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, Ross Chastain. All playoff guys. All guys that wouldn't surprise me to see them win. What are your guys' thoughts on the bets this week for Darlington?
Oh, are you waiting for me, Seth?
Yep, you got it, Rod. You got it.
Are we giving up the bets, or are we just giving up what we think on the favorites right now?
Yeah, just the favorites. Did the books get it right here in your eyes, Rod?
Everybody but Larson, I think, belongs in this conversation. I get it. I get it that Larson kicked off just a crazy string of wins, but it didn't start at Darlington. So, what I'm saying? For me, Ellie or Larson is not necessarily in this conversation. Hamlin, success on this track. You can go back and look through his finishes. Just ridiculous. Elliott, I don't know. You can count him out of anything. Tyler Reddick, he was up in the top, 10, 5 the last couple races. And then I don't know about Chastain either. I talked about how he's sort of fallen off the wayside. I don't know about him being up in these top 5 favorites here.
He ran super nice at Darlington, of course, before, having a terrible finish there. But I agree with Rod here. I think these are all really good. I think the books got it right. I believe in Larson, I think, a little more than you, Rod. I think I'm holding on to that 2021 hope still. I think Denny Hamlin's a smash this week, though, boys. I'm going to be straight up with you. If I'm taking any outrights this week, I don't think I am. I haven't been very successful the last couple of weeks, my outrights. But if I am taking an outright, it's Denny Hamlin. I love what he's done here lately. Hamlin I got to ride with. And Reddick, I was honestly thinking maybe Reddick would be a little bit of a value, whether it's an outright or a top 3 or a top 5, but he's not. He's not really the value I want to place on there but I think he's going to do really well. I don't like the odds there.
Keep in mind, Hamlin is running Xfinity this weekend too, his yearly fall.
Oh, let's go, baby. I'm even more on him.
So is Larson.
That's right. Larson just added too.
Okay.
I don't think they remember if he's running the 17 for Hendrick or the 88 for JRM. It doesn't matter. Still probably going to win. That's
interesting. Okay. Well, now I'm even hotter on the two of them. I already was, but now I think I am even a little more. I like that. I appreciate that little nugget there, Elliot.
Anytime. All right. So those are the favorites. Talk about some other bets you guys have. Some outrights, top 10s. Polls, DK specials I see on this sheet. Whatever you guys got, let's throw it at the viewers. Help them make some bucks this week.
Well, I'll lead off again, Seth, because, that's just the way it works. Look, I'm going to go with the guy that I actually think is going to win this race, and that is Kevin Harvick. You look back at the string of what this guy has done at Darlington. You have to go all the way back to 2012 to find a race in which he had not finished inside the top 10. Dude's got 3 wins in that span and a string of top 5 finishes. Like literally, like I said, this guy has owned this track for the last 10 years. So you're telling me that Harvick is not going to get a good finish here? And I say you're crazy, especially given the fact that, yes, we haven't seen a lot of it this season, but he came on when it counted. So I'm actually not just only taking Harvick to win, but I'm going to go Harvick over Reddick. Barstool's giving this out right now at plus 114 because, again, I think Harvick is going to win, and obviously that means he's going to finish above Reddick, and that's plus money. So I like that. And you're telling me a guy, Reddick has to finish at least 5th or better this race, and I don't know that that's going to happen.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't really bet on Harvick as much until you said that, Rod. I mean, obviously, I know the history is great here. Just didn't see it as much as what I wanted in the spring from him, but I totally understand that's just one race here. I like Denny Hamlin this week, guys. I'm riding with the top 3 on Hamlin, plus 170, plus money for that. I was pretty happy to get that there. 4 out of his last 7 Darlington races have resulted in a top 5 finish. So I'm going to raise that up to a top 3 finish this week. I mentioned this before, but Denny, 2 out of his last 3 races have been top 5s coming into Daytona. And he was 6th at Nashville. And I know it's kind of hard to compare Nashville directly to Darlington, but they are the same track length. So if there is one that you can compare it to, it was Nashville for me. So he's 6th at Nashville. He has great history here at Darlington. I just love what he can do this week, especially. I want everything I can get with Denny Hamlin. Any bets that involve Hamlin, I'm going to be on.
Last season, he had not terrible regular season, very consistent regular season. Didn't get a win. Got kind of lucky to get in because there weren't 16 winners. Went out, won Darlington right away, put it out of the conversation. And we do see the chat here. Big fans of Chris Bell. Remember that 20 car with Eric Jones did win this race in 2019. You remember it was rain delayed finish sometime around 1 in the morning, but it was that 20 car that ended up winning.
So speaking of Chris Bell, and I know I've been harping on Hamlin. I think Hamlin's going to win this. I just want to sprinkle this one that I thought was really good for Chris Bell this week. Chris Bell as the top Toyota finisher at plus 700. I thought that was really, really good. So just to have a counter in case Hamlin wrecks out of this one or something early, has some engine failure. I like Chris Bell plus 700. Yeah, I mean, 6th at Darlington earlier this year, 8th at Nashville earlier this year. So he's good at these, 2.33 mile tracks or whatever it is here. So I like Chris Bell here a lot. Rod, are you interested in that one at all? Plus 700. I think those are very favorable odds.
Well, we love us some plus money over at the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. So we will definitely take plus money bets. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea. We just talked about how Chris Bell could be one of the ones that actually leaves the playoffs soon. But that's not to say that he can't have a good finish at least once in these playoffs. And he has been running up front. It's been bad luck. It's been a string of something happening to him, getting tapped the wrong way that's ended his night. But I mean, it's not for lack of talent. It's just for bad luck. So.
Oh, looks like Derek here is tailing Rod's pick, taking that. Love to see that. Appreciate Derek, Rory, everyone we got here in the chat tonight. Looks like we got Dee Dee, Danielle. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Man, this has been a very special year. Just finding so many people who love betting NASCAR, talking DFS NASCAR with us. As far as matchups go, Rod, what do you I would love to get your opinion on this one as well. I'm going Cindric over Bubba at -110. This is basically a pick 'em from DraftKings here. And I mean, I've talked about it. Cindric comes into this one 3 straight top 13s. Cindric has something to race for still. No offense to Bubba, but obviously he wants to get a win. We saw him get a win in the playoffs last year out of contention. But I think he's going to be right back in this one. 18th here in the spring in his first run. 7th at Nashville, though. So he is good with this style of track. Bubba, though, look at what Bubba's done here so far. And I know I faded Bubba at New Hampshire, and he came out and had just an off-the-wall career day. But Bubba at Darlington, average finish of 24th, one top 20 here for Bubba in 7 races. So, maybe Bubba's going to be near the top 20, right outside the top 20. I expect Cindric to have a top 15 day at least. So I think that is probably my favorite bet of the week, Cindric over Bubba there in -110.
It's sad because my next bet that I was going to say is I was going to give Bubba as the winner of Group F over there in Caesars. They've got him grouped with Eric Jones, Eric Almirola, and Brad Keselowski. So I just need him to beat those guys, right? Those are the guys that I want him to beat. As far as Austin Cindric is concerned, I think Bubba's going to have a pretty decent day. I don't know why I'm not as high on Austin Cindric as I should be, to be honest with you. I have this rookie thing about it where, I don't know that he's going to be up for the pressure of the playoffs. Like, he got in the first race of the year, right? And then after that, yeah, there was some good finishes here and there. But like I had said earlier about having no actual fire behind that playoff push, like that wasn't what Cindric had. So for me, Bubba looks like he's just so intent on proving that he belongs in this series. And now he's got Michael Jordan's full attention. So I don't know. I want Bubba to win that group, but I think I'm going to go ahead and let you talk me into the fact that Cindric may finish better than Bubba this time.
Keep in mind with Cindric real quick too, I don't remember if he was the entire time, but before Kurt Busch's injury, I'm pretty sure he was the lowest guy in the driver standings that would have been booted out had we gotten to 17 winners. So not the most optimistic regular season for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, you guys make very good points about Cindric, the rookie coming in here. I just kind of like what he's done here. He's been consistent at these upcoming tracks. So maybe he's not going to go and light the world on fire, but I just have to fade Bubba here. I've faded Bubba a couple times this year. It's paid off. Sometimes it hasn't paid off. Other times, wish I faded him a little more last week, if we're being honest. But yeah, I just have to ride with Cindric here. Last one for me here, but before we hear any of Rod's final bets here, and Elliot, I think you might not like this one too much, but I'm gonna go Blaney over Byron here at -110. Very similar career stats here at Darlington. Darlington has not been a favorable track for Ryan Blaney in any way. However, I think he's rejuvenated a little bit. I think, mindset matters here in NASCAR, guys. We can't forget that. And, going into that rain delay, it looked like it was all but shot. Any chance that Blaney had at a championship, once again, going down the drain way too early for how talented this number 12 team and Ryan Blaney is by himself. But the last top 10 for William Byron came in Sonoma on June 12th. So this is more about me just fading William Byron. I think the tides have turned here, and I think if anyone can get it done over, or if Ryan Blaney can get it done over anyone, William Byron was the one there. So I love Ryan Blaney. I think -10. This was another pick 'em, and I wasn't really sure why. I thought that the odds would be a lot shorter here on Blaney.
And Byron has been rough this year. Remember, he was set to win that race before Joey Logano kind of punted him out of the way. That was early season.
That is a good point. That is a good point. Yes.
The guy out front, white flag lap. So.
Yeah, I fade Byron. That seems like a pretty good recipe for success in this betting week. And again, it's not because we don't think that he can do it, but the days of him winning races.
You haven't had a top 10 in 2 months. 3 months in this race.
That's astounding.
He hasn't barely led laps either. Like he's been sitting at plus 400 laps led this season since around June. He was way ahead of the pack in leading laps, and now he's not even leading them. He's barely running in the top 10 too. I didn't actually get what his current running or what his average running position has been over these last 2 months. but I don't think it's
a
been
lot
great.
lower than 10th. Yeah. And with
Yeah.
Bowman too, he led a few laps at Daytona. First laps he led since Dover. So same
Yeah.
sort of fade there.
Agreed. Rod, any final bets here that we should be tailing here as we head into Darlington?
I got one more fun one that I found over on Caesars as well. They're offering Ford versus Chevy at plus 205. Obviously, I said Harvick's going to win this race. So give me the Ford side of that at plus 205 because, that I said, I love plus money bets. It's always fun to cheer those on. And when they hit, you're happy.
Outside of Harvick, I see Logano obviously being one of the favorites coming into this. Are those the two that you're like really hot on? Because outside of them, and maybe a long shot on Cindric, I don't see any other Fords walking away with this one, Rod.
Yeah, no, it's Logano and Harvick. Those are the two that I'm definitely on this week. Because again, Logano led laps last week. He was actually in front of all that madness, and unfortunately couldn't stay in front long enough to avoid all of it. So Logano's one of those tricky guys where he's good and he's good and he does things to make you believe that he's good. And then he just sort of disappears for a little bit and then resurfaces and says, "Hi, remember I'm good." And you never know when that's going to be.
Mm-hmm. But if it's going to be any time, it may as well be in the playoffs. Right. Penske having the potential to, light the world on fire is the only reason I take Ford over Chevy there.
Yeah, that's a tough one because basically to me it's Logano and Harvick versus Chase, Reddick, and Elliott. So take your pick with that one. I've not been great on the manufacturers this last week, so I'm going to hang off of the manufacturers this week. But Rod, I like it. If you're obviously going to take Harvick in this one, why not go double down on the Ford? I like that. Just making your bets, especially those are pretty good odds, especially for the manufacturers heading into this. So I like the rationale, Rod. I don't think I can tail you on that one, but I do like the rationale there, man.
That's all right. Bets aren't for everybody.
Yes, sir.
Well, it looks like we're about wrapping it up here with the bets. Remember, give us the credit. If you win, we're not liable for what you lose.
I like that.
Going to be a lot of fun at Darlington. Of course, after that, we've got the rest of the round of 16, I guess, 16 drivers. Going to be fun. Good luck at Darlington here, and let's round it out with the back road advice and stories. Well, we're into the playoffs now. Let's run it back. What was your guys' favorite memory of the 2022 regular season? Rod, let's hear yours.
My favorite has to be the vindication when Kevin Harvick finally won his first race. I touted him all season long. I gave him as a favorite to actually win the whole championship. I just sang his praises because, again, he's been good on so many tracks. And, sometimes you just tug at those heartstrings long enough and it finally comes through. And I think my favorite, because just the way he won it, the emotion behind it, watching him, grab his daughter, put her in the whole thing was my favorite memory of that. And just knowing that, like, this guy scraping for as many races as he had, 65 without a win, like finally getting that win behind him. I'm an old guy too. So like anything that happens to make an old guy happy, I definitely can relate to that. So I was very happy to see, and that's my favorite memory, I think. And not just because I got to brag about the fact that I ended up picking him to win, even though I did pretty much every week until that. But I'm just saying that was my favorite memory.
I love it. Elliot, what about you, man? I mean, obviously, as a Bowman fan, you haven't had the best of luck so far this season.
It's that Vegas win, and there was a lot of setup behind it too. Let's rewind back to 2020. Las Vegas spring race. I think this was, I don't remember, before or after Cali that year when he won in Fontana. He's out front. I think Ryan Blaney's out there. There's a yellow, less than 10 to go.
They bring him down, don't they?
Yeah, him and Blaney, they come down pit road. They take the tires. They don't win the race. Ever since then, I feel like the team has thought it. Certainly me as a fan has thought it. Vegas owed us one. Ran well, running third with 2 to go there. We're not going to catch Kyle Busch and whoever the other Toyota was. Eric Jones has a tire blow. Bubba Wallace smacks him. We get a yellow. This time it's those Gibbs boys that come down pit row. And on the front row, it's good old Bad Luck Bowman and the defending champ who just won 10 races and is also your teammate right alongside of him. So nobody's picking Bowman in that scenario. Green, white, checkered, goes out there, outduels that dude who just won 10 races in the title. and finally breaks that duck and gets that Vegas win. And it turned out to be really helpful.
Yeah, it was.
The rest of the regular season with a lot of bad luck and some really bad runs. But all you need is one to get you in, at least most years. And we'll see if they can keep it rolling in the playoffs.
I love that. So for me, guys, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to give you a couple, honestly, because this has been, in my opinion, possibly my favorite season of NASCAR ever. A big part of that is just being a part of this show with you guys, being on the back road. Elliot, you and I have been friends for a long time. We've worked together closely, whether it was in college or, you've been one of the founding members of In Between Media here. So being able to work with you on this level here has been excellent. And then Rod, I've been a huge fan of your work, all the different stuff you've been doing, the CFL, the XFL, the USFL, the NFL, all the FLs. I've been a big fan of you, and I met you through that, and I knew you had this love of NASCAR. So definitely seeing that, having you on this show has been an absolute pleasure. So that's been my favorite part of this season, working with you two guys. Also, I will say, as far as a fan perspective, Ross Chastain winning it here. Looks like we have Nick in the comments actually bringing this up. I have been a huge fan of Ross Chastain for the last couple of years. I didn't have a favorite driver since Jeff Gordon retired. I kind of looked around. No one really intrigued me until that 2020 Xfinity season. We didn't have a lot to do. There wasn't a lot of sports to watch. I kind of became an Xfinity degen a little bit, and Ross Chastain was a big part of that. So when he actually came out and he won his first race, I haven't been yelling in front of the TV, screaming like that for like my own team. I honestly couldn't even tell you. I've been a Steelers fan my entire life. I've been a big Penn State fan for a while now. And even those teams, I don't get that jacked up for it. Even recently here, I can't even remember one of the recent races Ross was in too. And I find myself rooting and compelled for this guy. And I think it's, it goes the whole Trackhouse team in general as well. I mean, Trackhouse has been fantastic. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, I shed like a tear when Daniel Suarez won. Like that choked. I don't know why, but that choked me up just because I've always loved Suarez, and he got booted out of JGR so quickly. I felt like didn't really get SHR.
Well, he wins the 2016 Xfinity title. Carl Edwards says, "F this, I'm out." Gets bumped up too early. Fourth car there, bumped out. SHR, fourth car there, bumped out. Has to go all the way down to Gaunt Brothers. Right. Doesn't even make the Daytona 500. Runs terrible there. Gets his shot. Takes the chance on this dude Justin Marks with Trackhouse. And yeah, I agree. To see him get the win, that was putting aside the fan perspective and just what was the best moment for the sport in the regular season. That's it, easily.
Yeah, absolutely. So, loved what Trackhouse has done this season. They've really changed the sport to being more innovative, more accepting to new teams. So, as a fan, I love what they've done. And I also have to say, man, what a blast I had this last weekend down in Lancaster. Derek Yoder and his whole gang down there were so hospitalative to myself, my girlfriend. Guys, we got to do a live podcast in a car in a barn worth millions of dollars with all these awesome cars, a Shelby Mustang GT 500 right behind me, one of my dream cars. So it was an amazing thing to see. I'm very thankful for that opportunity. We got a comment here from Rory. Seth is the man. I appreciate that, Rory. Rory is also the man. If you guys ever get a chance to hang out with any of those guys, Rory, Derek, Full Tank with Phil, Mark, Skybox NASCAR, Chris from the Flag Benton podcast, all guys, we've almost all had them all on here at the back road. Hanging out with them in person, drinking a couple beers at the bar was an awesome experience, and I'm so thankful for that. I'm just thankful for this NASCAR betting community we found, man. So acceptive, so appreciative of our advice and other people's advice. So it's been a dream come true, man. And every day I feel like I have to pinch myself to make sure it's real. And Rod, I think you feel exactly the same, probably.
The fact that you guys brought me into this family and the fact that I've managed to be in this family overall. Again, Elliot, Seth, I know we're still got shows to go, but if we're getting all sappy, let's get sappy because I definitely am appreciative of the fact that I get to talk NASCAR and do it with such a great group of people and like Derek and like Rory and like Phil and all those folks that I've done it with this season. I never knew that I was going to get in this deep, but I sure as hell glad that I did.
Yeah, this year really, Rod, we couldn't have done it without you. We've seen people come and go. You being the rock here for us has been great. Even taking the show with was it Derek or Phil?
Yeah.
even having to take the show with neither Seth or I there, so that was super cool. And of course, the whole in between media empire with Seth there. If you're watching this, you already know how great this place is. So super duper cool to have the platform here. Absolutely.
Hey, thank you for your hosting as well, Elliot. It does. I mean, the host, it is a very unthankful job, and one of your best qualities is that you make Rod and I look good, and that's not an easy thing to do, my friend. At least with me, Rod's very easy to make look good. But yeah, it's been an awesome time here at the Back Road. We got a lot more content coming for you. We're still going to be every other week as we head into the playoffs here. So make sure you're tuning in every Tuesday night. And actually, after this, you can also, not this week, but next week, the podcast, the Fantasy Football Podcast, will be right after this. So we got a lot of content coming your guys' way. Elliot's Through the Field column still going to be out every other week as well, probably during the season. So look forward to that. If this is your guys' first time over here at the In Between Media YouTube channel, please like this video and subscribe if you're into this type of content. It goes a long, long way as we continue to grow and build IBT, baby. Let's go, man. I'm pumped.
Absolutely. Going to be a lot of fun this football season. And Rod, I'd forgotten just how many football podcasts you do. CFL, NFL, USFL. If I started a football league in my backyard, you'd have a podcast going in a week for sure.
Damn right I would. Give me the tea. I'll do it. And I get live interviews with the owners and the players. Let's go. Let's go. I love it. I'm all about it.
No doubt. Anything fun you got coming up the pipe?
Yeah, I mean, look for the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. We got an episode out already. We're going to tape one as soon as we're done here. CFL Gambling Podcast, CFL DFS Podcast. NASCAR DFS is coming out on Wednesday, as is the F1 Gambling Podcast as well. So if you want to get in a little F1 action, we got that for you as well on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And you can find my stuff on Sportsbook Review. Look, go to Twitter at RJ Villagomez. There's a link in the bio. Takes you to all my work. It's probably easiest to do it that way.
Awesome. We got a comment here from Nick. What are our favorite drivers? Nick, we've kind of talked about this a little bit through the show. Just go back maybe 5 minutes, and I think you're going to hear about all of it. Other than Rod, who's, a diehard Jimmy Johnson fan, unfortunately.
Yeah, so Rod was a big Jimmy guy. I was a big Dale Earnhardt Jr. fan, and then just went to Bowman, natural transition, the guy who took over the car. Seth, you were a big Jeff Gordon stan back in the day, and now leaning toward the Melon Man.
I think I always like the drivers that everyone hates, man. So I'm in for it. If I got to be that, that mark and go down for it, I'll ride that way with the Melon Man, baby. Guys, this has been an absolute pleasure. We're back in 2 weeks here, and I'm excited to see our guy William Byron continue to fall down the ranks.
Yeah, right. All of our favorites are going to be the championship 4, and all our bets are going to hit this week, right?
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And Nick, thanks for tuning in again. It says your favorite drivers, Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick. They're both in pretty good shape too. Oh, yeah. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch at Darlington. I'm guessing that with the shows now, we're going to focus more heavily on the immediate race this coming Sunday. Then with my Through the Field column, we'll focus a little more on the bets for, I believe it's Kansas, the second race. So we'll make sure to keep that heavy. So that way we can just put all the focus in. I know sometimes going out 2 weeks, you're not worried about what's happening next Sunday. You want to make your money this Sunday. So either way, it's going to be a lot of fun in the playoffs. Thanks again for riding down the back road with us. Best of luck with all your bets, and enjoy Darlington. We'll see you again here in 2 weeks' time.
Let's get that money, baby.